When you look at other definitions for the Antichrist throughout Scripture, especially the Old Testament, one of the phrases or one of the terms you hear most often is the Assyrian. The Assyrian in the last days. Which one of these guys is an Assyrian? It's all you got left by process of elimination. And then you look at Revelation 13:4, and they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? That is very similar to a statement in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Again, Gilgamesh being one of the stories about this character. Who can compare with him? Kingliness. Who can say like Gilgamesh, I am king? The concept there is, whoa, who's like this guy? And he was a giant. In fact, if you go back to the narrative in Genesis chapter 9, is it 9 or 10? 9 or 10, I think it's 10, when it's talking about, 10, the Table of Nations, and talking about Nimrod. It says that Nimrod began to be a mighty one in the earth. That's what you get in King James. If you look up the word mighty one, it's Gabor, plural being Gaborim. That word can be translated as giant. In fact, in the Septuagint, it is translated as giant. It says Nimrod began to become a giant. Now, both definitions are correct, mighty one or giant. Both are applicable to the word Gabor, Gaborim. But David had mighty men too, didn't he? And David, he was out there with his mighty men out killing giants. So what's the difference? Well, this is where I see value in using something like the Septuagint, because you have the Hebrew scholars with their Hebrew language and their Hebrew context. They know the context of their history and everything. They translated the exact same word, Gabor or Gaborim, two different ways, depending on who we're talking about. When it was talking about Genesis 6, giants, it used gigantus, from which we get the word gigantic or giant. In the case of Nimrod, the same word, gigantus, word we use for giant. David's mighty men, ton dynatos, which basically means strong, powerful warrior. So they knew the difference. The word began has a sexual connotation to it. It's used, the same word that is translated as began in King James, began to become, is translated elsewhere as sexual defilement and prostitution. So looking at the text, it appears that through some sort of sexual ritual, I would say, he defiled himself, and it changed him in such a way that he began to become a giant. That's in the canonized text. When you look in the other texts, you see these characters are also giants, like Gilgamesh. So let's go with that premise. Let's compare Nimrod with Yeshua. Well, we know that Yeshua is the Son of God, right? And he was also manifest as flesh, as man, right? Gilgamesh was said to be 1/3 man and 2/3 God, 1/3 being 33.33%, and 2/3 being what? 6, okay, just checking. All right. As Osiris, he was known as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's a familiar title. As Osiris, Mithra, Tammuz, etc., his symbol was a cross. In the Egyptian, it'd be the Ankh, which the hoop in the Ankh represents resurrection. Interesting. He's depicted throughout multiple cultures as a dying and resurrecting figure. Of course, as Apollo and some of these other ones, as the Son of God, in that case, Zeus, which is interesting because Zeus is referred to basically as Satan in the book of Revelation, where it talks about Pergamum, and they had the altar of Satan there. Well, the altar of Satan was the altar of Zeus that was in Pergamum, that was relocated during World War II to Berlin. Interesting. And Obama created a replica of the seat of Satan for his Denver, Colorado acceptance speech. That's when everybody's like, he's the Antichrist, he's the Antichrist. Like, no. For some reason, I just have a hard time accepting the fact that the Antichrist needs a teleprompter to address the 6th graders. Not that impressed. Who is like that? Who can make war with that? Yeah, it's not working for me. Rules from elsewhere.